Little
Yep.
icon.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zahava Schechter. I'm an attorney admitted to the New York Bar more than 33 years. I want to thank the Hillside Library and Judith in particular for bringing me back to speak to you on this very important issue of estate planning. I have another presentation coming up on February 16th, also for the Hillside Library, kind of a follow-up to this program on estate administration and elder law, if that interests you. And I have two other programs coming up for different libraries, the Bayville Library on February 22nd, that's real estate law, and another estate planning program on March 3rd for Glen Cove. If you're interested, you can check out my website, or I have a YouTube video set of videos. And if you want to hear other programming that I do, you can find out more about me. So again, thank you to Hillside Library, and I hope everyone is well during this pandemic, and let's get going. Hold on one second. So if you have a question during the program, I'm going to ask you to please type your question in the chat box, and Judith and I can sift through the questions at the end. If you have a question after the program ends, you can feel free to email me or call me. I won't charge to speak with you on the phone. If you have questions about more specific questions, I'm not going to answer specific questions during this program. And again, you can check out if you're interested, my website and my YouTube channel for more information. So I have more than 33 years of experience. I do estate planning and administration, which is our discussion topic today, as well as all kinds of real estate conveyances and business law. That is my background. I also host a podcast called the LI Law Podcast, everything about law here on Long Island. If you're interested in podcasts, that might be something good for you to hear. Okay, I want to start before we talk about estate planning, about the New York State Office of Unclaimed Funds. If you've never been to this website before, I urge you to go to check out your name, your spouse's name, your children's names, your neighbors' names, everybody's names, because it is likely that there is money sitting there for someone you know, if not for yourself. I know when I get a new client, whether it's a living client who comes to me for estate planning, or if someone has died and I handle the estate administration on behalf of the family, I always look at this website and I'm amazed at the money that is missing, not from New York State, but that the family doesn't know is even available to them. So I urge you to look for your name there, and hopefully you can find some money. Today we're going to do a basic discussion of estate planning. There is no way I can cover everything, but I'm going to try to do at least the basics. So every adult, which is defined, the age of majority in New York State is 18 years. Every adult needs a healthcare proxy, a durable power of attorney, and a last will and testament. Basic documents. I liken it to if you have a house, your either basement or your first floor, you can't really build a second floor, third floor, do other planning without that foundation. So this is your foundation. If you have these documents, great. If you don't, if you have questions, hopefully I can answer some of them for you through this presentation. We're going to start with the healthcare proxy, which applies, as I write here, to healthcare decisions if you are unable to make your own decisions. So what does that mean? Today, Zahava Schechter goes to a doctor.
I'm sorry, it's Judith. We can't see your slideshow. We just see your basic information page.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can't see my slideshow?
Nope.
All right.
It just says it just shows the PowerPoint.
You have to click, excuse me, you have to click on.
So if you click on the slideshow, it should.
I did. You don't see it now?
Well, now we see the slide, but it's not the slideshow.
Okay, hold on. Do you see a slide now that says
It says healthcare proxy, but it still gives from the beginning, from current slide. It gives the PowerPoint. It's not the full screen. Yeah.
It's not the full screen.
No.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out what else to do, unless I go
That's okay.
out.
I mean, we can see that slide. It's fine. It's just you might have to change it manually.
That's
I can tell you.
It's
I can
fine.
tell you if you want to know.
Yeah, tell me, please.
On the bottom right, you see far right, it says 74%.
No, I
On
don't
the
have
bottom
that.
right,
Yeah.
the bottom right of your screen. It says 74%.
No, I don't have that on my screen.
Very
I'm gonna
bottom
get out
No.
of, hold on, I'm gonna get out of PowerPoint and we're gonna try again. Hold on a minute. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
That's okay.
I don't remember that we had this problem before.
We
So
haven't,
Let
but
me
it's okay.
try. Okay, so now, can you see my screen now?
No, we see you.
All right, hold on. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Okay.
Can you see my PowerPoints now?
Yes, it does give the slideshow stuff, but it's okay because we can see the slide.
Hmm. Now is
Yeah.
it moving?
Yeah.
So
Three
now I
documents.
see 74%. The gentleman who's helping me, what should I put it up to? 100?
Yeah,
No. Next to 70, no, next to that number, next to the number, click that little icon.
This one.
Next to the 80%, 74%, click that little icon. There you go. Click it.
Is that
There you
better?
go.
Okay. Thank you. Are you
You're
on
welcome.
now the 3 documents, healthcare proxy, durable power of attorney, and last will and testament?
Yes.
Okay, and now you're on healthcare proxy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your help. I love learning from others and I haven't had that technical snafu before. Thank you so much for your assistance. Okay, so today Zahava Schechter goes to a doctor, a hospital, etc. I'm mentally well. That means I can understand what is being said to me and I can communicate in some way what I want to do. I once had a client who would blink his eyes. That's how he communicated. You have to be able to understand and somehow communicate. If you can do so, no one can make a decision, a healthcare decision for you, not your spouse, not an adult child, not even the doctor. Even if everyone says, Zahava, you need this surgery, this operation, and I say, absolutely not, what I say goes. But what happens if I'm not mentally well? Again, we're not talking about physical impairment, we're talking mental impairment. If I'm not mentally well due to dementia, Alzheimer's, a coma, an accident, many reasons, or if I'm intubated for any kind of illness, if I don't have a healthcare proxy in place, then the doctor is going to make the decision for me. So what's important about the healthcare proxy is you are empowering an agent, that's what the person is called, and a successor agent you always set up. You are empowering the agent to make decisions for you if you are not able to do so yourself. These are what's on the slide. These are, I hope you can see, a few of the things that I include in my healthcare proxy, a HIPAA release of information, because frankly, from the age of 18, you're not entitled to, no one else is entitled to your records. If you have an adult child, as I do, over the age of 18, you can't get their records. So in order to, healthcare records I'm talking about, in order to get those records, someone else has to empower you to do so. DNR, do not resuscitate or keep alive at all costs, or something gray in the middle. You know, it's not always black and white. There's a lot of gray. So what are your wishes? If you could make your decision, if you didn't have to rely on an agent, what would you want? This is very important to put in a healthcare proxy. It's also important, I don't want to digress, but it's also important to discuss with your agent all of your wishes. Even if you have it in the document, this isn't a secret document. Talk to your agent, say, if something happens and I can't make my own my own wishes known, this is what I would want. So please do that. Organ donation, burial, or cremation instructions, very important. I just want to say something about the agent, and we're going to get to the form. When you think of who your agent could be, should be, that person must also agree to it. So if, let's say, I would name my husband, and if my husband says, I don't want to be the agent, I can't deal with end of life issues. These are life or death issues. I'm not really good at that. then it's better for you to know that before you name that person, right? Because then you'll name someone else. So these are, I'm encouraging you, if you're thinking about making these documents, or if you have the documents in place and someone has either died, one of the agents you've named, or there are changes in your life, talk to the person. I always say the time to review documents are when there's a change, especially if you don't have, you need to put them in place. But if you have documents in place, birth, death, divorce, marriage, any of the above, any life change, that's the time to review your documents. Okay, so I hope all of you got the handout, which I provided to Judith and which she kindly posted. This is not going to be a binding document, but I thought we would kind of get into the document a little bit, some of the things that you could think about, so that if you don't have a healthcare proxy and are thinking of making one, or if you do have one, but maybe you need to make changes, I can hopefully inspire you in the right direction. So who your healthcare agent is, as I said before, is a very important decision. Think about proximity. Does that person live here in New York? Or is that person in California or in another country? No, the person doesn't always need to come to the hospital, but maybe it's a good idea for the person to be local, or at least have the ability to travel to help to see what's going on in a hospital, in a rehab, in a nursing home, wherever it is. That might be important. The age and the health of the candidate. So if COVID has taught us anything, if the COVID pandemic has left any morals here, it's that age alone is not an indicator of when someone will pass. Unfortunately, I don't know about you, I know many people who have passed, some of whom were my clients, some of whom very young. And while age is not a predictor, I don't know that you necessarily want to name someone in their 90s as a proper agent, because you need someone who is fit, who hopefully will at least outlive you, and who is healthy, who can be available if you need that person. The willingness to act, I already went through that. If you talk to your proposed agent, your prospective agent, that person says, no way, can't do it, not interested, don't name that person. Does that person have a similar view of decisions? Meaning, if you want to be kept alive at all costs, this happened to a client of mine this week. You want to be kept alive at all costs, no matter what. You want to be plugged into the respirator and everything else. Please don't pick someone who is not going to resuscitate you. That person has a very different, unless that person says, you know what, I'll respect what you say, but that person has a very different life view. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just different. And by the way, I want to say that while we're on this discussion of respirator, et cetera, the issue is not plugging in. I want to go through this. The New York Court of Appeals, which is the highest court in New York State, the New York Court of Appeals has said that there is no right to euthanasia. You don't have the right to kill someone who, even if that person is suffering, if that person would continue to live. So the problem is not plugging in. The problem is taking the plug out. So think about, if you don't want to be resuscitated, why would you want to allow or choose an agent who is going to plug you in? Think about it. Sorry to bring up these issues, but they affect all of us. Who is a successor healthcare agent? So when I meet with a client, a prospective client or an actual client who says to me, I only have one person I'm going to name. I say, well, if that person all of a sudden is unavailable, out of the country, becomes sick, dies, etc., that document is going to be worthless because you haven't named a successor agent to stand in that place. Sometimes I'll even do an agent, a successor agent, and an alternate successor agent. I always do one at a time. And people, sometimes parents will come to me, especially if they're older, and say, I've got 3 children or 2 children or 5 children, and I don't want them to fight, so I'm going to name them all agents. That is a major mistake, because if you name 3 people co-agents, that means they all have to agree, they all have to be available, and they all have to be willing to act at the same time. It's much better to do one, and if that one isn't available, you pick another, and if not, then another. I can go on, I can explain that in more detail another time. Who is your alternate? We just discussed that. Do you see now that I'm going to the next slide? I hope. Okay. What are your end of life wishes? We started to talk about that. What would they be? I often meet with people who say, you know, I never really thought about it, but it's a good thing to think about. Do you want to make an organ donation? A lot of people say to me, oh, it's on my driver's license. Okay, that's very good. But if you want to, and not everybody does, and you don't have to, if you want to make an organ donation, you should put that in your healthcare proxy. Because as we know, if you want to donate organs, they often don't last a very long time after you are certified as dead. And so as a result, the hospital needs to know very quickly. And I don't know if they're going to find or look at your driver's license in that case. Do you have a cemetery plot prepaid or cremation? So my mother passed about 6 years ago. And one of the best things I did was, besides doing her estate planning, was we did pre-need planning. We're a Jewish family. We bury the same day. And but even if not, when my mother passed, I didn't have to think about what I was going to do and where and how. I made one phone call to the funeral home. Everything was taken care of. So that's because we planned in advance. So I encourage you, if you know that you want a certain, I have a lot of clients who are Catholic, they want to go to Holy Rood. You usually know where you want to go or what you want to do. If you do, it's really a blessing for those you leave behind to put planning in place. The other thing I would say to you is when your surviving family members are grieving, right? You've passed and they need to think about what the either burial, cremation, whatever the plans are. You know, it's a very bad time to make financial decisions when you're upset, very bad time, because oftentimes you're not really focused and funerals can be quite expensive. So if that's what you want or you don't mind, that's fine. But if you don't want your family spending, you know, 15,000 more, whatever, you may want to think about planning everything in advance. It's really a blessing for those you leave behind. And specific instructions. I've had clients say at their funeral, they want certain hymns played. They want those who want to be cremated, where they want their ashes to be spread, all kinds of, you know, these are your wishes and they're very specific. So if you have any like those, you should definitely tell the attorney. Okay, I want to now go to the power of attorney. So if the healthcare proxy while you're alive deals with healthcare decisions when you are not mentally well, the power of attorney is also valid while you're alive, but it has really nothing to do with healthcare. It's everything else, dealing with the IRS, Social Security, New York State, bank accounts, selling your house, doing everything else but healthcare. And the power was revised on June 13th, 2021. If you have a power of attorney which was executed, that means signed by you prior to then, you should check with your attorney to make sure that it's still valid and that the provisions are still effective. I have recommended to all my clients to redo their meaning to adapt to the new power of attorney, and we have re-executed. It's very important. There are a lot of changes. One thing I just want to say before we actually talk about what's in a power of attorney, unlike the healthcare proxy, where if you're well today, Zahava Schechter's well, I go to the doctor, only I make the decisions. With the power of attorney, it's not like that at all. Today I sign empowering my husband as my agent or anyone else, but empowering my husband. My husband can go and empty my bank accounts. He can sell my house. He can do it, change my beneficiaries. He can do whatever I could do, even if I'm well. There is no springing effect. And a lot of times clients don't understand that. This is a wonderful, powerful, and very dangerous document. You want to keep all these documents and a fire safe. We'll talk about that later, not the safe deposit box. We'll get to that later. Power of attorney, as I said, applies to financial matters. It is very important because it's valid even if you later become incapacitated in any way. Again, you must choose your agent and successor agent wisely. Pick someone who's good with Excel or with Quicken or can keep records and is organized, can deal with an accountant, a lawyer. These are important things to think about. The agent must accept in writing. And as I said, it's valid as soon as executed. Okay, now we're on the last will and testament. Those two documents we just discussed, healthcare proxy and power of attorney, are only good when you're alive. Now we're on the last will. Why is it called last will? Because I can make a will today, tomorrow, the next day. They're all valid. but which one is effective? The last one I make. As a result, until I die, there is no effective last will and testament. So think about that. When people come to me, and it's not once and not twice, I've heard this, people come and say, I want to make a will. Okay, great. Are you dying today? And they look at me, Zahava, why would you say that? And I say, because the will is only effective after you die. If you're going to live another 20, 30, 50 years, however many years, you need a healthcare proxy and power of attorney too. So keep that in mind, please. You're going to choose your executor. That's the name of the person who marshals all of your assets after you die, and then distributes according to your wishes, your beneficiaries, excuse me, with a successor executor signed up. There are all kinds of bequests. There is a ceremony for execution of a will. Make sure that you go to an attorney who can do that. Sometimes I will actually get calls from family members. Oh, the decedent, the person who's deceased, wrote something on a piece of paper. Doesn't work that way. If you have minor children, minor meaning under the age of 18, guardianship is an issue that is discussed in the will. And we're going to talk about trust later on, but there are issues of a testamentary trust, which is within the will, versus an inter vivos during your lifetime trust. We're going to talk a lot more about trust at my next presentation, which is February 16th for Hillside. But I just wanted to discuss that here. I want to talk about some miscellaneous matters. I see time is running. Please do not leave your documents in a safe deposit box in the bank. Please do not. That's because when you die, no one can get in. No one can, even if you, let's say a husband and wife are owners of a box, have access, have keys. Husband dies. I don't mean to pick on the husband. Husband dies, the wife cannot access the box. So choose a fire safe box in your home. Amazon, Walmart have like a $50 fire safe. It is delivered to your home. I highly recommend that. If you want a link, I'm happy to send it to you. I think it's called Sentry, Fire Sentry, something like that, about $50. The purpose of the fire safe box is just to protect the documents. People say, oh, I have jewels, I have other things. That you can leave in the safe deposit box, because once your executor is appointed, then the executor can go and empty the box. But if you have a will in a safe deposit box or a power of attorney or something, and you're incapacitated or you die, no one's going to be able to access it for you. I am a very big believer in long-term care insurance. I don't sell it, but I believe in it. I've had it myself more than 40 years. A lot of people think, and we're going to talk a little bit about Medicaid. A lot of people think, oh, I have Medicare, or I have whatever I have, life insurance, that will take care of me if I'm not able to do certain daily living activities, toileting, bathing, dressing, showering, eating, all that stuff. No, it doesn't work that way. So let's very briefly discuss. Medicare is an age-based governmental entitlement program. If you're 65 years old and you're poor, or you're 65 years old and you're Bill Gates, you qualify for Medicare. Medicaid is a dollar-based program. You have to be really poor. And again, we're going to talk about Medicaid at the next program. You have to be very poor. And so if you have a house, you live on Long Island, you have a house, you have bank accounts, you're getting a pension, you're probably not going to qualify unless you start to move all of your assets out, you lose control of all of your assets. Most people don't want to do that during their lifetime. Long-term care insurance is a way to prevent a problem where you have to spend down all of your assets you don't have for your children or for your loved ones. You also have someone coming in to either help you, or you can go to assisted living, et cetera. Long-term care insurance, I highly recommend if you're healthy and if you're relatively, young. I would say to you, at least get a quote. You don't have to pay for a quote. If anyone has questions, you can call me. Life insurance. I am a big believer in term life insurance. Again, I'm not an agent. I don't sell any of this. I don't get any money from any of this. Term life insurance. You have someone who's dependent upon you, a spouse, a child, a parent, whomever. If something happens to you, how will that person survive financially? Term life insurance is great. Some people have whole WHOLE, whole life insurance. That's like a forced savings program. It's an expensive product, but if you need it, I understand. Disability insurance is also another important insurance, especially if you are in a certain profession that, like, for example, my daughter's a doctor, and if she is unable to work as a doctor, what will she do? So there are certain professions which have, for which disability insurance is important. Medicaid planning, again, we'll talk about this next time. I'm sure you've heard, or maybe other people have talked to you about a 5-year look back period. If you start moving money out of your assets, out of your estate, not estate, but out of your control, it looks like it's a fraudulent conveyance, because you're basically trying to make yourself poor while saving so that the government pays for your care while your family is actually keeping the money. Just be aware there are all kinds of rules and laws. Before you start transferring assets, please talk to a lawyer who specializes in this area, whether me or someone else, so that you don't make a mistake. Because when you make a mistake, it's very hard to undo it and you won't reach your goal. And that's what every lawyer should be helping you with. Gifting. You can give to anyone from in the calendar year, January 1st to December 31st, a certain amount of money. You don't have to file a tax return. Forget about the even gift tax. You don't have to file the gift tax return. And there's no reporting issue. There's no tax consequence. This year, 2022, it's 16,000. Last year was 15. It's a way of getting money out of your estate so you don't have to pay estate tax. What is the estate tax in New York State? If you die with assets greater than about right now, 6.2 million, you have to pay estate tax. If it's less than that, you don't. For the federal government, it's about 12 million. Again, beyond the scope of this discussion, but estate taxes are relevant for a lot of people on Long Island, so it's something to consider. This next item, checking beneficiary designations, is free, and it's something only you can do. Go to every bank, financial institution, life insurance company, everywhere where you have some kind of account, any kind of account, policy, anything. Insurance policy of any sort. Look to see whom you've named as a beneficiary on the account. A beneficiary, let's say I name my husband and I die. I name my husband as a beneficiary, I die. My husband takes my death certificate and his ID, goes to Chase, and Chase gives him the money. It's free. It doesn't need to go through probate court, which is called the surrogates court here in New York. You don't have to wait. You get the money right away. If there's a lapse, then you must go through the surrogates court. My point is, it's something that everyone should do. And people say to me, oh, I think I did it a few years ago on this account or on that account or on an IRA or a pension or whatever. Go check, make sure it's correct. If you name someone who has died, who is unavailable, maybe you don't even talk to that person anymore, make the change. I do a lot of pre and post nuptial agreements for second marriages and beyond. If that's relevant for you, that's a discussion for another time. Deed transfers. Just today, I received 2 phone calls this morning from people who want to move their property to their children for all kinds of reasons, whether Medicaid planning, whether they're doing estate planning because they don't want to have to pay, they don't want their estates to have to pay estate tax. There are many reasons to do deed transfers. But they don't understand that when they do that, they're losing a step up in basis, meaning they're going to have to pay capital gains tax, the recipient will, when the property is eventually sold. So there are a lot of considerations. Please get the proper advice before you start making steps. Okay, very briefly, we're going to go into a trust. A trust is not for everyone. I once heard Susie Orman say, oh, a revocable trust is for everybody. No, it's not for everybody. It costs some money to set it up. And if you have a reason to set it up, it's great. I just want to explain some terms because you may have seen these. Inter vivos means during your lifetime. That kind of trust, and there are many trusts, can be either revocable, meaning you can revoke it. You own it, you manage it, you are the beneficiary, you can revoke it, you can move money in and out, you can move property in and out, it's yours for all purposes. It's on your social security number. Versus irrevocable. That means you cannot change it. You lose total control. Most people don't want to do that. again, that's a discussion for next time, and for if you have questions, then meanwhile, you can ask me. A testamentary trust is a trust that goes through the will. So what are some great reasons to create a trust? It's all about control. I'm talking mainly about you setting up the trust for well, actually, let me take a step back. If you want Medicaid planning, which is number 3, that's going to have to be an irrevocable trust, meaning you have to make yourself poor. And there are pitfalls and consequences to that too. But I want to talk about the other things. I often meet with multiple generations of families, and I represent generations of families. And it is not infrequent that I'll have parents say to me, my daughter is married to a son-in-law whom I don't like. I don't want the son-in-law to get my money. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about control. You control who the beneficiaries are, what the conditions are, how someone gets or doesn't get, and for what purposes. Governmental assistance. If you have a beneficiary, you have a child, you have a family member who receives SSI, not Social Security, SSI, Medicaid, all kinds of government assistance. If that person gets money over a certain limit and the limit is low, you'll throw that person off the roll, and that person will no longer be eligible for any of those government benefits. Very dangerous thing to do. Spendthrift. Do you know someone who, like Imelda Marcos, used to love shoes? You know, somebody who they have $5 in their pocket and they go to spend it. If you have a beneficiary who is 18, 20, 50, however old they are, and they don't know how to spend money, you may want to control the basis, the reasons that the person could receive money. Addiction. In our society, people are addicted, whether to drugs or to alcohol or all kinds of addictions. You don't want that person to have unfettered access to money to go and spend it. And ease of administration. You may be blessed, and I hope you all are, and have properties and have accounts. You just want to make it easier. And you want to centralize everything in, if possible, in one vehicle, one entity. Trust is a good thing for that. Okay, choose your trustee and successor trustee wisely. The trustee is the one who manages all of the properties in the trust. And I just want to say something. People say, okay, I'm going to set up a trust and I'm done, right? No, that's just the beginning. You create a trust, which if you think about it, it's like an entity. There's a vacuum, it's empty. You have to move assets into the trust, right? If the trust is empty, there's nothing in the trust, there's nothing to administer. So keep in mind, the first step beyond the healthcare proxy power of attorney and will and last will and testament, if you're going to do a trust, is to create the trust. Then you have to start moving assets into the trust, whether during your lifetime or by setting up beneficiary designations, naming the trust as the beneficiary. Lots to think about, and these are very good things actually to do for those you leave behind. May you be the grantor, the person who creates the trust, the trustee, the one who manages it, and the beneficiary. Of course, that's called a revocable trust. Okay, we're almost done. 2 quotations by Benjamin Franklin. In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. I'm sure you've heard that. And by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So I'm going to suggest to all of you, look at what planning you've done, make sure that all of your wishes, because that's really what this is about, not your spouse, not your children, not the lawyer, not your CPA, it's what you want. Make sure your wishes can be fulfilled. Hopefully they can. If you need me, please contact me. I see I have a couple of things in the chat. I hope everyone is staying well. And thank you again to the Hillside Library for bringing me on. So I'm going to get off my my spreadsheet, my PowerPoint, thank you. And I'm also going to stop the recording.